Thank you everyone for joining our webinar on building a global business in a post-pandemic world. My name is Omars. I'm a 2014 McGill engineering grad and the president of the McGill Young Alumni Association. Our association's aim is to connect, support, and engage McGill students and graduates of the last decade through events like this. This specific webinar is also brought to you by Futurpreneur Canada, a national nonprofit that provides financing, mentoring, and support to aspiring business owners from the ages of 18 to 39. They are also the co-founders and official Canadian representatives to the G20 Young Entrepreneurs Alliance, or the G20 YEA, recruiting and leading the Canadian delegation. I'm here today in my capacity as a Canadian delegate to the G20 YEA that I've attended as a co-founder at Upstart Ed and partner at Quantum Lead over the past 2 years. Today, I'm pleased to have with me 3 other fellow G20 YEA Canada delegates. First of all, Nina Latinga. Nina is the founder and CEO of Latinga Vida, a fashion brand developing high-performance apparel and bags. As a certified B Corp, Latinga Vida is part of a global movement of people using business as a force for good. Through her company and consulting projects, she creates circular systems that meet the highest standards of overall social and environmental performance, transparency, and accountability. Welcome, Nina.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Geraldine Gipé. Geraldine is a serial entrepreneur with ventures focused on the circular economy, environment, e-commerce, and AI. She is a web and technology enthusiast, offering digital transformation, digital marketing, automation, and e-commerce services with her current company, GJ Consulting. Passionate about the digital economy, she supports and invests in local and international startups, including serving as a mentor at Futurpreneur and as an entrepreneurship podcast host. Welcome, Geraldine. Finally, we have Omar Kendall. Omar is the founder of Osar Enterprises, a self-created platform that seeks to seize business opportunities and transform them into reality with a focus on eco-friendly products geared towards food and water security. Omar has been a prominent G20 YEA Canada delegate since 2016 and currently helps businesses with their global expansion as a trusted advisor. Welcome, Omar. Fantastic. So, how is this event going to work? Each of the speakers will start off by sharing a brief presentation talking about their background and their entrepreneurial journey. We will then transition to an open fireside chat with a question and answer period. You can submit questions over to us at any point in time throughout the webinar. The webinar is being recorded, so feel free to skip the note taking because we will be sending you a link. I'll now turn things over to Nina to get us started. All yours, Nina.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Abdal, and thank you for organizing the event as well. Just wanted to quickly say that. That was already a great introduction. So my name is Nina, and I'm the founder and CEO at Latinga Vida. So I'll just start off by telling you a little bit about my background and how my entrepreneurial journey started. So my background is actually in psychology. So before starting my entrepreneurial journey, I was in a totally different place. So essentially, I studied psychology at University of Ottawa. Went on to finish my undergrad actually at UBC to really focus on research and sort of neuroendocrinology and things like that. So that was really, I think research was my passion for a long time, but it's not somewhere where I felt totally at home. And sort of after a series of different life events and exploring different opportunities, I ended up moving to Montreal, where I was planning on pursuing a PhD and continuing that career path, where I applied to a bunch of schools, and naturally it's a competitive program, but unfortunately I didn't get into any of them. So that was my what felt at the time like a really big failure, but it turned out to be one of the best things that happened to me, because it really gave me a sort of a wake-up call, and I was like, well, what do I want to do? What do I want to look at next? Should I just go back, take some classes and things like that, and just sort of see what happens? And that's what really started my path at McGill. So I signed up for some classes in continuing education at McGill, started off in healthcare management, and it was really through that sort of educational experience that I discovered business. So I started taking business classes here and there, and through basically, it started off as a project for a marketing course where we had to come up with a product essentially that wasn't on the market yet. And at the time, I was working in research, I was a student doing all kinds of things, and I just really came up with a concept for a very multifunctional bag that sort of supported the demands that I needed. And when I presented that idea in my marketing class, a lot of people were like, oh, that's a cool idea. You know, maybe you should explore this. I would want a bag like that. And that's really how it started. It was just a sort of a silly idea for a class. And a friend of mine at the time told me about the McGill Dobson Cup. And it was through the McGill Dobson Cup that I sort of developed this passion for entrepreneurship. And it was, for the first time, I was like, oh, this is where we can take these, you know, crazy ideas and really test them in the real world. At an accelerated pace that I didn't quite find in sort of the academic research world. And so that was a whole sort of personal journey and professional journey. And what ended up happening, sort of to my very big surprise, is I actually ended up winning one of the prizes. So I won the Grit Prize in 2014 at the McGill Dobson Cup. And it was interesting because at the time, you know, you're given mentors and things like that. And I sort of started to believe in myself again. I was like, okay, so I can do something. I can do something different. And these, you know, maybe this is a new sort of path for me. And at the time, I was still doing research and doing different things. And so as I was sort of developing these ideas and, you know, still with one foot in the research world, I just saw all these different opportunities come up. So naturally, this brought me into fashion. So fashion is something that I sort of played around with as a kid, but nothing I ever took that seriously. But I always loved design. So combining these ideas, bringing design to life, I started to look at, well, what does this mean in the world, right? Because nothing, I mean, if you look at textiles and where things are manufactured, everything is a global supply chain. And at the same time, it was around 2014, there was, there was a whole bunch of different series of events that sort of brought to light the ethical issues within the fashion industry, and also more and more talk around sustainability. And so I was like, well, why don't we do this the right way? And because I could see that everything was done in an unethical manner. And so as I was building the supply chain, I was looking for textiles. I was asking how many, like, how much are people paid when they're making these garments? And, you know, to my surprise, the answers were like, oh, don't worry about how much things are getting paid, how much people are getting paid. And so again, that just started to raise more and more questions. And finally, I was able to launch a product that I was, you know, happy with. It was made in Italy. It was really, you know, as sustainable as textiles could be at the time. And so that was the first product I launched just a few years ago. And through these kind of partnerships, I came across a company called Aquafil. So Aquafil creates a circular nylon. So this is in partnership with an organization called Healthy Seas. Healthy Seas essentially removes fish nets from the oceans, and then Aquafil transforms this into a circular fiber. So to me, I was like, wow, what a great way to sort of launch a product and to create something that's truly sustainable. And the pandemic hit, you know, and that sort of also changed a lot of things for a lot of businesses and people around the world. Obviously, like our whole lives changed. And so what that did for me, I mean, the fashion industry was down there, you know, and so like a lot of other people, a lot of businesses started, you know, looking into PPE and different things like that. And so we started essentially developing PPE, and that also opened up a whole bunch of opportunities. So basically, all of these experiences and accumulated sort of knowledge that you sort of start to bundle up through these variety of experiences, through the, you know, the G20, you know, being a delegate there, understanding the Sustainable Development Goals, and really at the end of the day, trying to make a positive impact. Today, we're really focused on accelerating circular product solutions that protect the natural environment, respect planetary limitations, respect policy, and are in line with that. And creating that alignment is really what allows to drive today a global business. Because if you don't align with policy, with, you know, if it's PPE health regulations, there's so much to take into account. And just naturally being in a global business, all of these things become so important. And so my journey really, if you told me 5 years ago that I'd be here speaking on a panel about circularity, I never would have believed you, but I think that's kind of sort of the fun of entrepreneurship. You don't know necessarily what the world is going to bring tomorrow, but being adaptable, and I think sticking to rigorous standards, sticking to your values and your principles will allow to give direction as you're building your business. So that's sort of the summary of my sort of story as an entrepreneur. And now I think it's time to pass it on to Geraldine to share her story as well.
Thank you, Nina, for passing me the floor. Hi, everyone. I hope you're all well. Well, I just wanted to quickly introduce myself. My name is Geraldine GP, and I've been serving the digital world for the longest times, meaning like I've been helping different medium-sized clients, like getting more visibility in terms of online strategy, ads, and so on. But I want to backtrack to how actually I started to dive in actually in entrepreneurship. So back then in 2008, I was just fresh arriving from Paris, where I was born and raised, and I was trying to figure a way actually to get immersed a bit more rapidly in the Canadian ecosystem. So I started freelancing, helping startups here and there, and getting more knowledgeable and accustomed to the business culture from on one hand, and also anything IT and startups. So that's how I actually starting step by step building my own company. And then in 2014, I decided to fully dive in and starting actually helping with my small agency, I would call it, to get like small, medium size and corporations to get more visibility. But I wanted to impact the world like in a better ways. And I also served startups, like I was mentioning. And then this is when in 2018, I actually met my co-founder back then to find like my startup back then called Water Gigs, which was an AI, AI focused platform that helps, businesses in the water economy to share systems and also devices. So the purpose of that platform back then was to help like all the stakeholders just to make sure that they reuse equipment instead of buying new, and you know um, have an eco-friendly platform in order to stop wasting actually new materials, and also help them to get faster in terms of finding these new systems and also equipments. The good thing is like the way we actually spark that company is by participating into the cooperathons. For those who don't know what the cooperathon is a entrepreneurial competition that is organized by Desjardins, and we won it. It's set up. It set up the full company on the right track actually to start, leveraging, visibility and also get the fund, because when you start a startup, it's not always easy to find the right fund. And then after that, we were enrolled in multiple incubators that actually gave us the knowledge that we needed actually to push forwards. And then I exited. After that, I decided to focus on what I like to do, is to help other entrepreneurs in different ways, either to push their grants, get some grants, because this is not an easy thing. We realized back then, working on the different aspect of my previous venture, that was a bit complicated actually to work on getting the grants that we needed in order to get the fund, develop the technology we did. So I decided to develop that service with my own brand, DJ Consulting, and then also to help these startups and these small, medium-sized businesses and corporations to get more visible in that sense. So, I mean, my personal journey was to be more impactful, to get more, sustainable ways and practice to help all my ecosystems of clients, from collaborators, to to be more visible, and but in a very, I will say, sustainable way, if I can call it that way. And today, with all the experiences that I actually gain, more and more, I've been asked along the way, especially since the pandemic started, to encourage, to teach as well others entrepreneurs to learn how actually they can get visible, especially in that time that is very complicated for everybody actually. So then I offered services of coaching for SEO, email automations, and more. So that's my beginnings, my why, and then I'll pass the floor to Omar, and see you in a few minutes, everyone.
Hello, everyone. My name is Omar Kandel. I graduated from the University of Prince Edward Island for the business degree. I'm the only one in the panel that did not graduate from McGill or has no connections to McGill, but McGill is a dream school for many people, and I would love to have graduate studies or a certificate from McGill in the near future. I started my business in 2014. Back then, my vision was to brand and market Prince Edward Island. When I lived in Prince Edward Island between 2009 and 2016, I was always disappointed when I share where I live with people when I'm traveling, how they would not know where Prince Edward Island is. And at that time, I was inspired to mimic the Fiji model and try to brand Prince Edward Island into a brand that is able to publicize the island and show it to the world. The vision behind it was to use water as a marketing tool to publicize the province, while also maintaining eco-friendly materials to create the water bottles. So at that time, I came across research from a university in the United Kingdom, and what they were doing is they were trying to, or they did try to turn shrimp and lobster shells into biodegradable plastic. I was obsessed with this technology and with this brand, Rouge is what I called it. But sadly, this brand never saw light because at that time, the residents of Prince Edward Island were not comfortable with someone exporting their water overseas, and a petition was started on the island to ban the export of water, and this is exactly what happened. The provincial government of Prince Edward Island banned the export of water and updated the Water Act. So this is when I tried to be more I forgot the word, but I tried to further continue this journey into the bottled water industry because I fell in love with water, and I partnered up with a company in Alberta, and this is when I started renting the overhead, and I was able to have my own custom brand through them, and luckily we were able to source biodegradable plastic bottles from the UK, and this is when I started my first brand, Dot, that came to light, and it is currently exported to the United States, to Saudi Arabia, as well as to the United Kingdom. After a few years, I came across hemp as an industry, and I also fell in love with hemp just as much as I fell in love with water. And this is when we partnered up with a research and development firm in Halifax, and we were able to create a formula that turns hemp seed oil into a water-soluble formula. We created a proof of concept in Kari Nairobi, and Kari Nairobi means cold water in the ancient Maasai language. So our proof of concept was to try to vertically integrate into the beverage industry and try to see the reception of people consuming water infused with hemp as a supplementary brand. The main objective from this particular brand was to publicize omega-3 and omega-6 from a vegan source, as well as you will be able to vertically integrate and infuse water with other products afterwards. Our proof of concept was successful. We were able to determine which target market we are able to sell this new niche product to. And lately, we were also able to certify our hemp halal, making it one of the first halal hemp products in the world. And we're currently gearing up to start exporting our new halal product to the Middle East. I forgot my train of thoughts. I joined the Futurpreneur back in 2016 when I coincidentally helped the CEO back then, Geraldines, in Charlottetown with something, and we struck a conversation. And at that time, I got acquainted with Futurpreneur, and I was able to joined Futurpreneur as a G20 YEA delegate for 2016 in China, 2017, 2018, and 2020. And I would like to invite the rest of the panelists over, and thank you very much.
Thank you, Omar. Thank you, Geraldine. Thank you, Nina. When you give these kind of overviews, there's so much to dive into that they actually bring up more questions than answers. But good thing we have some time to get into our Q&A. So to all of our attendees, please feel free to send questions about things you want to learn in terms of building a global business, starting a business as a whole, or specific queries targeted to our panelists. The first question that we have, and I think we'll start off, I'd love to hear the answer from all three of you, but start off with Nina, is all of our panelists, all of you shared stories around your businesses being impactful, also having good social outcomes, having great social impact. We heard about a B Corp. We've a lot of those kind of stories around environmentally friendly products. So for our attendees, some of the questions we're getting is, how do you come up with a business idea that can help you also do good for society? And I'll start off with you, Nina.
That's an excellent question. I think there's a lot of different ways to answer that. How do you start? Sorry, can you repeat the question? Maybe it'll give me 20 seconds.
Absolutely. So, yeah, how do you come up with a business idea that can help you also do good for society?
See, so how I'm going to answer that. I don't think it's so much the business idea, but I think it's how you execute it. So to me, when you're looking at the type of business you want to build, like, whether it's a t-shirt or water or a service or anything, it's first of all, what is your purpose? Like, what aligns with you? What is authentic? Because I think when you start from an authentic place, from there you can really start to think, okay, like if circular is your objective, well then how can I do that? And I guess here I'll just give like a quick personal example, which how this kind of tied in for me on a personal level. Anyone who knows me from being a very small child, I was obsessed with whales. And I can't explain to you why, but I love the ocean. It's always been a thing. I learned to dive. I'm a certified diver. It's always been a part of my life. And I never thought I was going to incorporate this in the business, but when I discovered Healthy Seas and the work they're doing, and that, it is inspiring to me. And I think when you're an entrepreneur, you have to be inspired by what you do. So it's not so much the product, it can be anything, but it's just reflect on where does it come from? How is every step of my supply chain impacting the world, whether you're looking at it from an ethical standpoint or from a sustainability standpoint. I think just educating yourself on solutions. There are so many solutions out there. It's more of a matter of connecting the dots.
Geraldine, Omar, anything you'd like to add?
Yes, of course. If I may share, when I was actually incubated at NextAI and also at Centec back then, the one thing they were keeping on asking us as very early bird startup was, what keeps you awake at night? So ask yourself that, like, what's the one thing that actually you're burning for, like something that you're very passionate about. That's the first thing where you have to start. And like Nina was saying, think about, is this thing is something that is aligned with your value, with your authenticity, with where you want to see yourself. And if you are, when you think about it, proud of solving that $1 million maybe issues. So this is where you can start with finding ideas. And you will probably tell me like, but there are so many things that already exist, of course. But like Nina said, and I really will repeat her words, like definitely it's the execution. That's the most important. The way you view the world is not the same way like your neighbor or your friends or another business partner will view it. It's only you that matter in that decision and in this creative aspect of creating a new business journey.
I agree with Nina and Geraldine, and like, to build an impactful business, you have to understand why. Why are you building that business? What is the impact that you want to do? What is the purpose that you are going to have? And once you answer these questions, I'm sure you will be able to build a very impactful business. But the why is very important.
Absolutely. Start with why. All right, next question we have, Geraldine, I'm going to start with you over here, is say I have a business idea. What is the best way for me to either find a co-founder or bring on early employees to my entrepreneurial venture?
So that's a very good question, and that's a very tough question. First, you have to ask yourself at the stage where you are, do you actually need a co-founder? Because if I don't remember or say it, and I was told back then, finding like co-founders is like being in a marriage. So you need to choose pretty wisely the person you want to get, because technically, if I look at my ex venture, I was seeing my partners way more than my husband. So you have to factor that in, to be honest. So I would say you have to date that person that will be your co-founder. You have to date and see how you guys get along in the good times and in the bad times. That's is really important. Now, you were mentioning as well how to find your first employees. There's different ways. You can turn yourself towards in universities. There are plenty of students, especially in McGill, that will be very happy actually to help you, create that, your business and create it from scratch. You can also look at MeTax. MeTax is a great organization if you're looking for, student scientists, so they can help you afford, their fees as well. Something I tried recently is the website angel.co. Angel.co. Well, I'll share it with you guys later. Sometimes you can find freelancers that are willing to do something meaningful, something different, and then you can start collaborate with. And then in the long run, they can become permanent employees. I hope it helps.
Absolutely. Nina, Omar, anything to add on that question?
No, not me.
No, I think that was super well answered. And I think what I really like about what you just said was also it's like dating in a sense where you have to get to know people. And I would say, I think you mentioned it, but like networking, there's tons of places. And it's like, for myself, I was really lucky. I had a lot of friends, I was at McGill, and everyone wants to help out and do that. And so initially that was great. But yeah, it's funny when things are going well, everyone's excited, everyone's on board. But one thing, I think if I look back, like one lesson that I maybe have learned that I wish I learned sooner is don't expect people, like if you're wanting to lead a business and be the CEO, you can never expect people to work as hard as you. Like when you have 16-hour days, you can't assume that everyone's going to have a 16-hour day. Like you're passionate, like you live and breathe it, but don't assume that everyone else will. And so that's the only little bit I can add there. But I think, yeah, you covered it. Awesome.
But I think, if I may, I would like to add one more thing to what you just said. This is your business, not your partner, not your employee's business. So, like you said, don't expect them to be on fire as much as you would like and be passionate and enthusiastic about the business. You have to think that they're humans. They will dedicate the time that they have to allocate to your business, but they will never spread some blood and tears and as much as anything that can happen in a business, in creating a business.
On a related note, then Geraldine, we'll start with you again, just because you mentioned that as entrepreneurs, it's hard to find that so-called mythical work-life balance. So how
Yep.
do each of you define and find, hopefully, some kind of balance between work and life? So Geraldine, please start, and then we'll have Omar and Nina.
Which version of the answer, the official one or the unofficial one?
The truth.
So, if I may speak the truth, when I was diving in the startup world, the startup ecosystem, I didn't see days and light. And frankly speaking, as a mom entrepreneur, it was kind of tough to balance that time that I wanted to spend with my family and dedicating the time that I wanted to my business. Recently, I decided that we have, especially now, you realize like you have one life to live, and then slopreneurship is my new mantra, where I really want to be more minimalist in terms of the way I work and be more efficient, so that I can have the more time actually with my loved ones. So all that to say that it's difficult. It's fine when you don't have kids or a family to take care of, but then I think even though you don't, it's important to find that balance. Don't think that because you're working 20 hours a day that you are actually productive, because biologically speaking, you're not.
Yeah, and work-life balance is hard to achieve when you are an entrepreneur starting a business, because you don't really know how much time is enough and when will things be done. Like, there is always something happening, there's always something that you need to work on, there's always work to be done. And especially when you start your enterprise and you're still single and you don't have children, you don't have responsibilities, this is the best time for you to be able to build the foundation of your enterprise so you're able to have work-life balance later on. But I don't think you can achieve work-life balance from the beginning, or else you'd be doing something wrong. I really think that the effort that you put in is directly proportional to your outcome. And at the beginning, especially, work-life balance is not something that is 100. You cannot achieve work-life balance when you just start your enterprise.
Yeah, I mean, I'll try to add a couple things. You guys did a really good job at illustrating a lot of it. I think it's almost like work-life balance is all relative. It's, at the end of the day, you end up, I think, finding your happy place with time. But I think, yeah, like for me at the time when I started, I had 100 other stresses and things that I could have never predicted would happen in my life at the same time. And it was just like everywhere I was looking, it was like you're putting out fires, and on top of that, you're trying to build a business. So I think, yeah, I definitely got a hard lesson in that. But that being said, it also, like, pushing those limits, like I definitely went past the limit, and at some point I was like, I can't move anymore, like I definitely reached that point. I think we call it burnout. But that being said, it pushed me to, like, I started meditating and meditation daily and taking that 10 minutes for myself. And I think a big learning lesson was also, like, not feeling guilty for taking time for myself during the day. And then also at some point my weekends, like now my weekends are just very sacred. It's like Saturday, Sunday, no, and also another thing is I feel like when we're starting our businesses and even like growing them or whatever, it's like we're very much in the entrepreneurial community. And so everyone's kind of on overdrive like us. And so I found that, like, disconnecting and also like connecting in new ways, maybe is what I should say, and really forcing myself to not talk about business, which is a lesson my family taught me a little bit. But yeah, it's really like you have to make it a point, or else it's because naturally you're passionate about it. It's all you want to do and talk about. So I think finding those like little glimpses of balance, it helps in the long term. And I think now I feel good, but it's always a work in progress, I think, for everyone.
And that's a good way to summarize it. It's a work in progress. You have to figure out what that balance is for yourself. Okay, next question for us, and this is open to any one of you that want to answer. Have mentors played a beneficial role in your development as an entrepreneur? And what is the best way to find, nurture, and develop these relationships? So whoever wants to start, please go ahead.
I'd love to start first because I'm actually a mentor at Futurpreneurs as well. All along my journey as an entrepreneur, I think I was very interested in getting more knowledgeable, and sometimes, I don't know how we say that in English, but have like find my boundaries. And I think these mentors were there for that, just to have the warnings that you need sometimes. And there's different kind of mentors that you can find. Could be business mentors, could be I will say even spiritual mentors. It's up to you actually to define which mentors that you want to have for what purpose. And in my case, I was very specific in finding mentors for specific areas I needed, sometimes in marketing, sometimes in growth, sometimes in AI. So that's something that you could address. And sometimes, you know what? Even if you're not an entrepreneur yet, for example, you could find mentors inside your company, somebody with more experience or a diverse experience that will be willing to, share sometimes. And sometimes it's just like a couple of minutes here and there, but that help you think, do that introspection on your business, on yourself as a human being as well, because sometimes like both are going together.
I guess I'll jump in. I was like, that's again such a such a good answer. But yeah, I think like I'll just kind of I guess reflect on what you said. But it's different mentors at different points for different needs is like sort of where I kind of take it, and it's very similar to what you said. So I don't know if I'm adding anything, but essentially, yeah, I think with Futurpreneur, I had a great mentor there through the McGill Dobson Cup. Like I remember, you know, that first person that kind of believes in you and your business idea and all that. It's all very exciting. And but yeah, as your business grows, it's just you have different needs, different times. And I think also like at some point, a couple of years ago, I'd won a prize where I was basically I was given a mentor at Ratemans, and she was so like, well, two actually, and they were so inspirational. I think also having like a female mentor who's really gone extremely far in the business world, because it was, you know, at the beginning it was the diversity just wasn't there, and I think finding that was really good in terms of its issues I hadn't thought about before, but having those conversations and just that are just candid, and then, you know, being critical when things need to be flagged, and also being supportive and having that balance is so important in mentors, and finding the right one makes a world of a difference.
Yeah, having a mentor will save you both time and resources. You know, things like when do you need a co-founder, or if you need a co-founder, or what is our budget for this quarter, or what is our growth plan? All these things, a mentor, because of their experience or because of their track record, will be able to assist you with so much. Yes, you learn through trial and error as an entrepreneur, but having the guidance of a mentor is something very important, especially with the resources and the time. It can take you less than a year to create something with a mentor, and it can take you 4 years on your own. So I suggest like having a mentor at your beginning stages of starting an enterprise, especially with an organization like Futurpreneur, where you are able to get a mentor. This is something very good, I think.
Fantastic. Okay, Omar, this question is for you to start off with, and then Nina, Geraldine, if you want, you can chime in. So when you're getting started and looking at global expansion, how do you do the market research needed to select where you want to expand to? And how do you start effectively setting up the right kind of resources over there, be it talent, be it partnerships, suppliers, etc., to be successful in that target market?
Okay, so I usually, before COVID, I used to travel to these places. So for example, when I first got into the bottled water industry, I used to literally hang out in supermarket aisles and ask people, why did they pick this particular brand of water versus that? Is it the price? Is it the labeling? Is it the competitive advantage? Is it the taste? So I would create my market research firsthand. Now, there are so many resources that entrepreneurs have that they are able to access. So for example, the Canadian Embassy and Trade Commissioners, that's something that they should automatically start with when they're thinking of global expansion, because they were able to provide them with some market intelligence. They're able to provide them some due diligence on their distributors and other people that they can work with. They can forward them to brokers that are able to assist them expand the product. So I personally, I used to do my market research firsthand, and I always used the Canadian Embassy to assist me with market research and market penetration plans.
And just on a related note, Omar, for those attendees that are interested, how do you get in touch with, say, the trade embassies or trade commissioners for your target markets?
So if you have a mentor, number one, ask your mentor. But if you don't, then you literally just contact the embassy, and on the Government of Canada's website, there is a trade commissioner service that you're able to get the information of all trade commissioners from. But also, I want to point out that EDC is also a good organization, and I recommend that all people that do business overseas to ensure their contracts with the EDC, because it will help them in the future if anything goes wrong, or there's force majeure, or a shipment is lost, or a distributor goes rogue on you. All these things are valid.
And what is the EDC?
I think it's
I think it's Export Development Canada.
Yeah, Export Development Canada.
Just for our attendees to note. Nina, Geraldine, anything to add to that question?
Yeah, I'd like to add something, if I may. especially in my field in the digital space. So in order to kind of shortcut things, especially when you don't have, $5,000 to $15,000 to invest in a market research, basically what I've been doing recently is just like to use Google Ads or Facebook Ads and, try some minimal ads in order for certain countries that I'm targeting with some businesses that I want, to promote and see what's the interest. So I'm just collecting data. It's cheaper. I can have like a $10, $20 investment and it's quick. So I have the data I need and I know if people are interested. That's a way to, well, I wouldn't say that's a way to do it, but that's the way I do it. Another things that I've been using is also target groups, Facebook groups in the digital space. Let's say you want to build like an e-commerce brand. You want to go, I don't know, let's say in Asia, for example, start targeting groups, check what they like, check what people are, the product that they're commenting for, ask questions, and then you also collect data, and then you nurture your network at the same times. And in between, you might also find sometimes like, suppliers. It happens on Instagram. Let's say recently I launched an e-commerce brand for lashes, and then most of the suppliers we found were actually on Instagram. So it's a question of actually networking with people, and that does help. Of course, you have to be cautious because not everybody is good for everybody. So you have to test it out and then see if there's a fit with the suppliers and also with the market research as well in order to decide whether or not that's the good market to invest in.
Yeah, I don't know if I have much to add on this one, but basically I think my process was really, it comes down to work with what you have. And at the time, like I was a student and I had won a small grant from McGill. So it was a bit similar process where it's, surveying. Like I didn't go in grocery store aisles, but I went to events, like sports events, and like kind of did a similar thing, honestly. And we had our bag and I had someone, like one of my friends that was like modeling, you get creative, and just walking around with the bag, and he was surveying people because, I was like, I'm biased, I can't do this. And so it started off like that. And that's how we kind of like refined or understood what do people like about our product, what do they not like, and things like that. Really just getting those candid first impressions. But then if I sort of fast track and things, and as we're building more of like a global supply chain and different partners, like our partners Healthy Seas have promoted us a lot, and Aquafil as well. Like when we did our mask, Aquafil, wrote a blog like the 4 most sustainable masks in the world. So for sure, it's like naturally then we start to get organic reach in Europe. Through another sort of partnership we did, sold a mask in Bermuda. Like I never sold something in Bermuda. So you kind of have this organic thing that kind of happens as you're building different parts of your business. But yeah, it's work with what you have and then go from there. But EDC is definitely, if you're looking to do full market research, that's an excellent resource. So yeah, I would definitely go in that direction.
Fantastic. All right, Nina, we're going to start off with you on this one and would love to hear a response from all the panelists. Of course, everyone's aware of the COVID-19 pandemic. We know it's been affecting businesses and ventures and even people considering ideas in different ways. So for each of you, how has the global pandemic impacted your business and industry? And second of all, what has changed in terms of how you operate? So I'll start off with you, Nina.
The short answer is everything has changed. So I'll try to not make this too long of an answer, but I mean, look, I had so many projects going that I was so excited about, which all had to do with retail expansion and this, like, it's just started. So I went from e-commerce to starting putting things in stores, and it was going well. We're adding all these stores, and then there was, I won't name names, but there was basically, it was a big deal. And basically, we're like, all right, how long is this pandemic thing gonna last? I was like, in my mind at first, I was like, it'll probably be a few months. Like people were saying 2 weeks. I was like, no, it's gonna be more than a few weeks. It'll be a few months, but then things should go back to normal. And a new partner that I was working with at the time, she was like, well, am I moving back to UK and all these things? So it was just like everything that we once knew. And I think that's business or not, like everything changed. And so all of a sudden I was like, does a t-shirt matter? You know, like it really became that. I was like, I was planning on launching all these things, but is it relevant? Everyone, like, supply chains are completely messed up. I was trying to get PPE through a supplier that I knew in China, and prices were changing overnight. You're calling DHL to try and get shipping quotes, and it's like, they're like, well, we have trucks backed up all around China, so there's nothing that's moving, so we don't know. Like, it just became this such fragmented supply chain where everything was uncertain. And just under normal circumstances, you have, you know, fires to put out, and this just became so exponential that I just, all of a sudden, I was up at 4 in the morning and I was like, what am I doing? And so basically, after this 4 in the morning existential crisis, I was like, all right, well, let's start making some masks. Let's see, again, work with what you have. And it took like 6 weeks for like the nose piece to come in, but finally, you know, I shifted to PPE, and then you start having conversations, did some local production, and that brought on some other projects, which then essentially stemmed into shifting from just really doing products for my brand to basically being like, what are the skill sets that I have? What do we have as a business? And what can we bring to the world? Which essentially led to consulting projects, which has accelerated business in ways I never could have imagined, but that's actually been a great thing. But that took about, you know, a year of ups and downs and twists and turns to make that all happen. But yeah, so you learn to adapt, I guess, is the summary there.
I'd love to jump in next if that's okay with you, but like you said, adaptability is essential. To be honest, when the pandemic started, my business kind of froze, like in time. Nothing. Clients were saying, well, we don't know what's going to happen, so let's pause everything. And I was just like, what shall I do? Shall I die now? Shall I cry? What should I do? But then you think about, okay, let's put your grown-up shoes, and then you have to think about how you want to structure the business. What can you do? What do you have? Okay, you can't freeze everything, right? So you have to be creative, and you don't have to ditch your full plan. You just have to pivot and adapt your plan to the new reality. I launched also in the middle of the pandemic a new family venture, and everything you mentioned, Nina, happened. You don't know if your supplier is going to deliver. Now there's new taxes that you were not aware about. Now the government is a bit more tight in terms of what you're actually shipping in because of the pandemic, you know, and so you have to reinvent yourself. You have to be very structured. You have also to be resilient. And if I may share one of the guests that I had on my podcast, she mentioned she's a CEO of the Unscented company, and then Annie Rouleau, you might know about her, and she mentioned that because of the pandemic, she said we need to be stronger, we need to be more connected, and she decided to go full local. So that means instead of having like partners like around the world, she decided to concentrate on all the partners she had here in Quebec. So that's also another way to go.
I agree with both Nina and Geraldine in regards to how being adaptable is very important in a business. Like I think that being agile is one of the most important traits that you can have as a business and as a person. You always have to be like water. You have to take the shape of the container, you know, no pun intended. But when the pandemic started, everything paused for me. My being a water business that is mostly for export, mostly focused on people's people during events or nightclubs or concerts. So it was a business model focused mostly on gatherings. And the pandemic did highlight a lot of shortcomings from my end or areas where I did double down on that I should not have. And it allowed me to take a step back and look at my business that I've never really, you know, assessed in a few years with an assessive eye, and I was able to further improve it and make it more decentralized in a way that it is not going to be affected by another pandemic or a stay-at-home order or not being able to travel. Now I'm able to run my business from my desk, but without having the challenges that I had before. So I think the pandemic in general was scary at the beginning and was a challenge at the beginning, but few months in, I think that it was a very much needed test for me and my business, because this did show me and highlighted all the shortcomings that I had, and it allowed me an opportunity to improve it.
Absolutely. As an entrepreneur myself, I echo everything you're saying about the pause, adaptation, and trying to be better leaders and being better businesses at the end of it. All right, so we're at the last part of our webinar, and I do want to make sure we take some time to talk a little bit about the G20 YEA, because that's what a lot of our attendees are here to learn about. So this is an open question. I think we'll start off with Omar, actually, because he's been there forever. What is the G20 YEA? Omar, you can answer that. And then I'd love you, plus everybody else, to also answer. Why should people try to be a part of the Canadian delegation for the G20 YEA?
So the G20 YEA is a group founded by Futurpreneur Canada, and it's a smaller model of the G20 summit held by global leaders. It's held every year in the same countries as the G20 is held, and it is focused on entrepreneurs getting together and are able to socialize, share knowledge, share information, and you are able to meet excellent panelists here. Very good talks on relevant new topics. Plus, most importantly, you're able to visit a new country and see how are you able to do business there. How did it help me? So when I first joined the G20 YEA in 2016, this is when I was able to penetrate the KSA market. Through my China trip, I was able to figure a way to get our products exported to Saudi Arabia. When I went to Argentina with the G20 YEA, I started working with a graphic designer from Argentina, and this is how we built the relationship. When I went to Japan, I currently have a distributor in Japan, and we are assessing different products I'm going to send them to. So the G20 in general did help me so much, because it allowed me to expand my network of people and work with more and more entrepreneurs that are like-minded. Plus, it allowed me to have so many skills that I think everyone needs, like the skill of being able to know where to book your flight or travel, or you're being in a foreign country with really nothing. All of these are skills that you don't necessarily find yourself learning about without being in a situation that forces you to learn about,
Want me to jump in next?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, it was honestly, I feel like it's a life-changing experience. It really is. Like when I reflect back on it, I just have sort of happy memories in a sense but on a lot of levels, because like on a personal level, I mean, it's fun to travel and to meet new people and all of that. But I think one of the things that marked me the most is, I guess it was a couple things. The first thing is how at home I felt with the other delegates. And I think there was such a good dynamic and such a good exchange of ideas and openness that I've rarely felt in sort of everyday life. And I think just meeting people that have sort of like that thing that I don't know how to put a word on it, but it was really interesting to just meet other people that are out there with their crazy ideas and that are willing to put themselves out there in the world. I think just that on a personal level was really just humbling and good for personal development. But on sort of a business level as well, just the doors that it opens and that opportunity to look at new markets, like Omar just said, and the business relationships that develop from that, understanding how to do business in Asia, like that is so important. And speaking to entrepreneurs from all these different countries, you realize the diversity of skills, the diversity of thought around issues that you take for granted a lot of the time, but having these sort of candid conversations. And this, I mean, of course, the speakers are phenomenal. So there's all of this sort of blend of experiences that I think it really, like, I remember coming back from that and just like sort of having this feeling of like, all right, we're ready to take on the world, and anything's possible. And also just the theme at that year was the Sustainable Development Goals. And being something that like I'm so passionate about now. Like I of course knew about them before going, but it just sort of further enhanced the importance of driving those goals, and also created, you know, it opens doors as well. Like once we were back in Canada with the federal government, and being able to have those discussions with Environment Canada, which I had the opportunity to do at some point, and you know, having visits in Parliament and just engaging in policy was just such a fun experience and very enriching. Enrichissant. What's the word in English?
Enriching.
Enriching, right? That's
that's good.
A little glitch, but yeah, basically awesome experience and highly recommend it.
If I may add to that, for me, that was my first experience. And I mean, you know, all this brain power and all these people like geniuses that you see, it's so, I was inspired, to be honest. It also helped me grow my business. So then there's a part of that, but then it also opened your eyes to new ways, new thoughts, new processes that you actually didn't think about while growing your business, because you know you're so focused on what you have, where you want to be, that you sometimes are a bit closed-minded, and then it open your mindset to different things, and maybe to revise actually what you were taking for granted to some extent, or not even thinking about. So yeah, definitely something I will recommend you to join for that great experience and the great people. And I can't wait actually to be able to travel again, because I had the chance to participate to the virtual experience, which was phenomenal and fantastic. And then I can't wait actually to be able to, you know, cross the world in our destination and learn more.
Absolutely. So we're almost out of time, but there's two important questions that are left that I'd like to ask the full panel, and whoever wants to start can. So that first question is, have you ever experienced imposter syndrome as an entrepreneur? And how did you, or how do you overcome that?
I want to answer first. Yeah, you have it all along your journey. Every time that you have a new step, a new goal that you want to achieve, you feel like, am I the right person to do this? Am I at the right place to do that? Am I the right person? Should I hire somebody else actually to do it? So you question, and that's normal. That's actually human. And how you overcome, just do it. That's all.
I'm currently having it right now. No, but imposter syndrome, of course, you're going to have it, because you always feel like I had it ever since I started up until now, because you always feel like you're an imposter, basically.
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say the same thing. I was like, I still have imposter syndrome. I don't think that ever really goes away, but I think it's also good to keep yourself in check. So it's like, I'm like, it just balances you out. And I think I need a lot of people remind me on a daily basis. They're like, no, like, just be you, like, it's fine, you know? And I'm like, okay, cool. Okay, thanks. Like, I needed to hear that, because yeah, I think if you don't doubt yourself, you don't challenge yourself, then
True.
What are you doing?
Agreed. Okay, final question then. Omar, we'll start with you, and then Geraldine, and we'll wrap up with Nina. What is one piece of parting advice to our entrepreneurs or budding entrepreneurs on the call?
Differentiate between an entrepreneur and a businessman. An entrepreneur is in it to change thought, to be able to impose new ideas, to create new value. But a businessman is a person who is putting in $1 expecting $2. So if you're starting a business to be a businessman, or you're starting an entrepreneurial journey and start an organization with an impact, it's something very important to define and differentiate yourself with from the beginning.
I love that. I really love that. I'll follow saying that you have to define what is your one thing. It took me like forever actually to define what was my one thing, but that will actually keep you in line with your goals and where you want to be and what you want to do, and you'll do whatever it takes actually to accomplish that one thing. And that's the most important, because we tend to think that we can do everything, but we can't. You have to focus on that one thing that is the most important thing for you in your journey as an entrepreneur, and that will guide you actually all along the way.
Yeah, I think just to sort of be a sounding board on that too, I mean, it comes down to the same thing, but it's, you know, it's like find your purpose, make sure it aligns. And I think finding that alignment between you and your business is so key. And it's something that I feel like I'm just starting to figure out. I thought I had it figured out and I realized I didn't. But those values and that kind of focus on what am I passionate about, constantly asking myself, what is my value in this world? What can I really bring? And constantly asking yourself those questions is what's going to drive you through the ups and downs that are naturally going to happen in this process.
Fantastic. One piece of advice just from myself, and I agree with everything that you all said, is that I know things are stressful. They're always stressful, but stressful right now with the pandemic. You're hearing incredible entrepreneurs talk about flying all over the world, building amazing businesses. It's okay if you're on your own timeline. Just make sure that you take care of yourself. You know, put your health first, put in the time, because you are the best investment that you can make. So yeah, give yourself the time that you need, and you know, take care of yourself. Awesome. Look, as we come to the end of this session, I'd once again like to thank everyone for joining us, all the amazing attendees. Thank you for your great questions. We hope you're leaving with some valuable insights to help you navigate your career, your entrepreneurial path. Of course, huge shout out to our incredible speakers, Nina, Omar, Geraldine. Thank you for being here. And by the way, this is one of the benefits of being part of the G20 YEA is you get to meet with amazing individuals like these and get them to come on your webinars. So thank you. You can always connect with them and myself on LinkedIn. I know we didn't get a chance to answer all of your questions. There are some questions that were tailored to specific panelists, so please feel free to reach out to them. Thank you as well to the McGill alumni team, Kay Dawes, Craig Daly, for your incredible support as always, and also to the Futurpreneur Canada team, Megan Vizette, Marie Gingras, for all of their help. Please note that the application for this year's G20 YEA Summit are officially open. The summit will be taking place in Italy on October 5th to October 8th in a hybrid virtual and in-person manner. You can download the Futurpreneur presentation deck as part of the documents. They're called handouts within this specific webinar. The handout itself, along with the webinar recording, will be emailed to all of our attendees following the completion of this event. Applications are open until May 17th. And again, as the attendees, as the panelists, said, and I said myself, it's an incredible opportunity to be a part of this phenomenal community. And I hope everyone on this call ends up applying. Do not forget that you can reach out to Futurpreneur directly if you want to just get more involved and learn and get mentored by amazing individuals like those speaking with us today. You can also augment this support with other incredible initiatives. McGill has the Dobson Center, as we heard about today. There's the Lean Launchpad, the Dobson Cup, the X1 Accelerator. There are other local organizations like YES or Youth Employment Services. And if you're below the 18 years of age, you can always reach out to Upstart Ed. That's a nonprofit that I work with. So thank you all again. Our next McGill Young Alumni webinar is going to be on financial literacy. We're going to be looking at debts and credit on the 29th of April. So keep a lookout for that and be sure to sign up. I'd like to thank you all again. Have a great evening. Enjoy the last few minutes of the quarantine if you're in Montreal. Sorry, of the curfew. So go out and have fun before we get all locked in at 8 p.m. So have a great evening. Stay safe and talk to you all soon. Bye-bye.